We can't save the earth. Mother Earth is crying. She has been so hurt. Just take a look at the climate. The heat is rising, affecting the sea. The temperature's climbing to the hottest degree. We see a rising activities, the droughts, the rain, and poverty.
Land and ocean species, they are decreasing. Some are migrating for better living.
It should be disturbing for all to see how this global warming affects you and me.
We can save the earth if we just come together and make it better. We can save the earth if we just come together and make it better.
We can save this world. We can save this earth. Don't let it fall. Came from the same with us. Don't let it
Green energy reduce carbon emissions. Solar, wind, bio, hydro, geothermal. Cut down the use of single-use plastics. Reducing reuse should be our main practice. True. Don't kill the trees, we need the oxygen. Stop dumping waste into our oceans. Then pollution needs a solution. Let's save the earth for future generations.
We can save the earth if we just come together and make it better. We can save the earth if we just come together and make it better. Let's bathe in the rivers and dance in the sun. Enjoy our blessings from the one up above. From the top of the mountains to the depths of our seas. Let's protect this world for you and me. We can save the earth if we just come together and make it better. We can save the earth if we just come together and make it better. We can save the earth if we just come together and make it better. We can save the earth if we just come together and make it better. We can save the earth. We can save the earth.
We can save the world.
Wonderful. Welcome to our 5th online regional event of the Caribbean Tree Planting Week. I'm Rosalie Hamilton, Chair of the Caribbean Philanthropic Alliance. Under the theme, Protecting Biodiversity and Cultural Heritage in the Caribbean, this Caribbean Tree Planting Week is organized by the Caribbean Philanthropic Alliance and its partners across the Caribbean and beyond. The objective of this week is to build public awareness of the importance of planting trees to our environment and our cultural heritage, and to reflect on how tree planting can contribute to achieving several of the Global Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. This event, entitled Planning and Planting for the Future, provides us an opportunity to hear directly from forestry departments in the Caribbean about reforestation, planning techniques, climate change, and more. Unfortunately, due to the COVID challenges, we are not able to get the representative from St. Kitts here today, but we have 2 representatives from Dominica and a representative from Jamaica. This discussion will also highlight the importance of effective public-private sector partnerships in tackling this difficult challenge of climate change. For this reason, I am particularly happy that our Honorable Minister Pernod Charles Jr. from Jamaica decided to join us. Minister Charles Jr. is an attorney at law who had several ministerial portfolio responsibilities. And these responsibilities, when I reflected on them, I said, wow, they really do capture all that we're trying to do here in the Caribbean Tree Planting Week. He, for example, was Minister of Economic Growth and Job Creation. He was Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. He was also Minister and actually had coastal zone responsibility. He was Minister of State in the National Security. And of course, he actually is chairman of the UNESCO Youth Advisory Council. You know, when I met Minister recently, when he assumed his latest portfolio responsibility, Minister of Housing, Urban Renewal, Environment and Climate Change, I now understand the enthusiastic support that I got from my minister when he heard about the tree planting, because I know he understands the importance of trees for economic benefits and decent work from his ministry portfolio in economic growth, and the importance of achieving SDGs 8, decent work and economic growth. He understands the evidence, I'm sure, Minister, of the strong relationship between higher levels of tree canopy and lower levels of crime, given your experience in the Ministry of National Security. So I'm connecting the dots, right? This is SDG 16. I know you understand, Minister, the importance of mangroves and coastal protection and the partnerships that we're building across the Caribbean, given your experience in foreign affairs and foreign trade and coastal management. And of course, that's SDG 17. And now we are in housing, urban renewal, environment, climate change, all linked to trees. And of course, that's SDG 11, 13, 14, and 15. Now, I say all of that because I think our minister understands that we're not just planting trees. We're actively addressing development challenges, and we're mobilizing philanthropy for development as we seek to accelerate the achievement of SDGs. So I now invite our Minister Pernell Charles Jr. to say a few words. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you so much, Professor Hamilton. I'm actually out in
Yes, I think we have some connection problems.
I'm checking if you're hearing me.
We're hearing you now.
All right, 1 second. I'm actually out in Wigton Wind Farm, I was saying.
Okay.
We are here with a team from the NDC partnership, and we are on a tour of the Wigton Wind Farm, which is going to highlight the need for us to expand our renewable energy capacity in Jamaica. But it is all connected to the protection and promotion of our environment and the environmental agenda. And of course, the most simple and critical initiative around that agenda is tree planting. So I want to start off by just acknowledging you and your awesome group across the Caribbean of leaders and stakeholders who get it, who are not just speaking about the benefits of trees as food and shelter and medicine and providers of oxygen and shade, but you are taking it to the next level, encouraging our children, providing guidance to our adults on how they can play their role in tree planting, and expanding also the knowledge of the relationship that we as humans have with the environment and with our trees, and the need for us to protect trees, not just as a casual benefit, but as a necessity for us to promote healthy life and also livelihood. So I just want to you the continued commitment and to salute all of the good work that is being done. My ministry has an awesome task. We have a very far-reaching portfolios, and you know, a big part of what we do is increasing public education, advancing awareness, and taking action to advance our 3 million trees in 3 years initiative. And not just to stop there, but to go beyond there to make tree planting a normal part of our everyday life. And also using technology and innovation. That's what I'm driving now. The use of information and data and technology to define exactly what trees we are to plant, where we are to plant them to have the highest yield in terms of extracting and sequestering carbon, what kind of trees will provide us for fruits in some areas, and particular types of wood and lumber and you know, assistance in terms of livelihoods in other areas, and what techniques we are going to implement in terms of tree planting, and also techniques to ensure that while we use trees to promote development, we do so in a sustainable way. So I just want to show you a quick picture for those who are on the call. I'm showing you the Wigton wind farm, and you can see our wind turbines turning. Let me get back inside. Let me get back in here. So, Professor, we're not just talking about it. We're out here on the ground with the teams, promoting sustainable development, promoting sustainable practices. And again, I just want to applaud all of you who are on the call today, and encourage you to continue the good work. I want to also acknowledge the Forestry Department, my CEO, Ainsley Henry, and the team there, as well as the Environmental and Risk Management branch of my ministry, for the work that we are doing in terms of policy and legislation to create that framework for Jamaica to advance the agenda that protects our trees, that protects our biodiversity, and promotes the interaction between us and the environment that is going to be healthy. The vision, as I close of my ministry, is to promote and to advance a harmony between the natural and built environment. So you can understand that tree planting is critical to us. And whenever we see the champions for our environment and the champions to protect our climate, we have to applaud it. So I commend you, and I encourage you to continue the good work. And I thank you for the platform to be able to give my own contribution to discussion. Thank you, Professor Hamilton. As always, you are a national treasure for Jamaica. And we continue to thank you for, I don't know, I tell some, you know, every time I see you, you look the same age when I first met you, which was a long time ago. And I think that you are given the blessings of good life because of the amount of just blessings you have given to us all. So thank you to you for your good and continued work.
Thank you for your kind words, Minister. And really, I set up that interconnection because I know you get it, and I know that you are connecting those dots for all of us here in Jamaica. We appreciate the work you're doing. We appreciate the work of your forestry department that has really collaborated with us and helping with the getting the trees out to persons who want it. I think together, your efforts, the efforts of civil society groups across Jamaica and across the Caribbean, we will really tackle the kinds of challenges that we're facing. So thank you, Minister, and we appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning.
All right, all the best.
Thank you. Okay, so I now hand over to the moderator of our next panel discussion coming up, and he is Darren Bent, and he's a tree planting ambassador in the Caribbean Tree Planting Project. Over to you, Darren.
Thank you, Dr. Hamilton. And good morning to everyone. I must share my own sentiments of thanking the Minister for his presence here with us this morning. We are now moving into a panel discussion, but I must say that the purpose of us all being here this morning to share is not just to share the things that we know or things that we know to be, but it's to mark the beginning of a process that we want to lead so that more and more of us can directly contribute and take actions to the issues that we're trying to shed some light upon. And so this morning with us, we have Mr. Andrew Hines, who is the acting forestry manager, Southeast Division. He's from the Forestry Department of Jamaica. We also have Ms. Anika Cognet, who is from Forestry Department, Dominica. She is a tree planting ambassador, and she is also the research, marketing, and educational assistant officer at the Forestry Department. Next, we have Mr. Ricardo Dominic, who is a forestry ranger of the Central Range, and he's also from the Forestry Department of Dominica. And so we, without any further ado, we'll move right into our discussion, starting with Mr. Andrew Hines. So Mr. Andrew Hines, over to you.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Is everyone hearing me?
Yes, we're able to see and hear you.
All right. Okay, I'm Andrew Hines. I'm the acting forest manager for the Southeast region. And the region includes basically 5 parishes: Kingston and St. Andrew, St. Thomas, Clarendon, and St. Catherine. Right. So my duties entail just ensuring that there are sustainable forest management activities in the region, as well as client services. Client services basically is public education, ensuring that everyone is aware of the projects that are going on. Right. But today I want to share with you the sustainable practices, just different planning and planting for the future. All right, but just to point out, did you all know that Jamaica is currently 40% forested? Is that a good percentage? No, it's not, because I'm sure if you all got 40% on a test, you'd be like, oh no, and you'd want to get a much better grade. So that's why we're going out into the communities, going to the different forested areas to ensure that we plant up these areas, get people a whole, the whole vibe into reforesting this country so that it can remain a country of wood and water. So I'm going to share the presentation with you. I'm going to share the screen. Hold on a sec. Where is share screen? Hello, are you all seeing the presentation?
No.
Are you seeing the presentation?
I'm not able to see it, but I can hear you. I realize you were trying to talk.
Hold on. I'm pressing shared screen here, and then okay. Are you seeing it now?
Yes, yes.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, I am able to see.
All right, great. Oh, right, sorry. Forgive me, everyone. The presentation is not opening up.
In the interest of time, could you just speak to it?
All right, I'll just speak to it. Okay, so the overview of the presentation, let's talk about the tree planting and execution. Planting for the future in Jamaica. Why are we planting trees? Important role of trees and forests. How can you learn more? And then if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Now, before we plant any trees, you have to identify sites in a forest or even in urban spaces, right? And then what we do, we use a silviculture plan after our land assessments to determine the most suitable trees for the forest. Sometimes we have officers that have different specializations that can be able to know which trees can grow best in an area. For example, if you're planting an urban space, they know about the different climates. So you'll know like which shrubs to plant in a particular area, which tree to plant. So the first thing we do is match the species to the site. This involves choosing the right trees for planting at the most ideal site. The species suitability is determined by the native existing trees present in the area. And after we do land prep, and before we do land prep, we have to talk to the community so that all will be aware of the different projects that are going on and to try to get the community involved in maintaining the area. So we hire contractors that will go out, we show them the different plots that we want to establish and the different planting techniques that could be implemented. So show them how to prepare the site. And then after we survey the area and then get the recommended species based on the silviculture plan that's produced by the agency. So to ensure that there are proper tree planting, you have to dig the holes properly because what we have mainly are trays. Seedlings are produced in trays in the nursery, so I have a root plug. And then the hole must be a bit deeper than root plug. The root plug is about 3 to 4 inches. And then you'll put that in the center and just plant. So it's a very simple process. And maintenance will include weeding, different weeding practices, strip weeding, circle weeding, whatever type of weeding which will not impact the topography of the site. So planting for the future, the Forestry Department is presently implementing the European Union Budget Support Program for the forest sector. And the title of this program is Addressing Environmental and Climate Change Challenges Through Improved Forest Management in Jamaica. And that was financed under the 11th European Development Fund. And this program is valued at 16.5 million euros. And the program involves several activities geared towards building the nation's climate resilience by strengthening the forest sector. So in this, there are several indicators. The main indicators are about reforestation in deluded areas, after the community sensitization, getting groups involved in different projects that can improve forestry, and even carbon stock monitoring, where the carbon that is produced from the tree, eventually you'll know the monetary value of it. Currently, we're doing a 3 million trees in 3 years national tree planting initiative that was launched in October 2019. And to this date, we have planted approximately 657,000 seedlings, and that was distributed as of June 30. I had the privilege of working with Minister Pernell Charles last month, about 2 months now, doing several projects for the Southeast Clarendon constituency, where we went to different organizations, mainly schools, did several presentations with students, showed them how to plant the seedlings and teach them how to maintain or manage the property. So you get the students involved, get the teachers involved, and we also got the workmen from the schools or the different organizations that we went to involve in that. And we give technical advice as to how to care for it in the future in terms of pruning, where to plant a tree. We would not plant a tree on the line, we won't plant it near to a building, different things, the right plants to plant in a particular space. So commitments of 2 million trees have been made from the private sector, from NGOs and CBOs. So why are trees important? What are the roles of trees? Why should we even plant trees? Because, you know, when you go outside, it just feels hot, you know, and then we even look on the different changes in the rainfall pattern, the frequency of storms. We recently had tropical storm Elsa, which had a serious impact in low-lying areas, you know, areas flooding. So climate change is real, right? But we have to play our part, because one tree can sequester about 1,000 tons of carbon in its lifetime. So can you imagine if you have a whole forest that would be truly beneficial to reducing the harmful carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and reducing the oxygen that we need to breathe? Trees also are habitats for fauna. When you look at the Blue and Drunker Mountain, which is a World Heritage Site for its cultural and historical, the interaction with the maroons, the environment, and the different types of species you can find there, animals like the swallowtail butterfly, the coney, just to name a few, the hummingbird. Those are endemic to Jamaica. So imagine if we don't take care of these areas and we continue the deforestation and people don't know about the importance, all these animals may become extinct one day. And it contributes to watershed protection. It contributes to the water cycle in terms of evapotranspiration, transpiration, all these things that will help to restore water to the rivers, prevent soil erosion in the root system, hold the soil together, mitigate the effects of climate change, which I spoke about earlier. So trees and forests contribute to a reduction of biodiversity loss. Forests are the greatest repository of terrestrial biodiversity. That means a large area that holds a large quantity of different species. Right? Are you still hearing me, everyone?
Yes, we are.
All right. It is estimated that the average global loss of forests is 13 million hectares, which accounts for close to 50% of annual losses of terrestrial biodiversity. Halting a deforestation on global scale would effectively halve the rate of terrestrial biodiversity loss. The trees and forests also contribute to a reduction in biodiversity. Earlier I mentioned that Jamaica is currently 40% forested. This is an improvement of 10% from 1998 to 2015. So we're presently striving to maintain a no net loss policy going forward. But, you know, we can't control natural disasters and even anthropogenic impact. Yes, we can talk to persons, but there needs to be a culture change. There needs to be a change of mentality, and people really need to understand the value of trees. Not only fruit trees, because timber trees, if you plant timber trees, it could be a big investment for you, increase the value of your property, and you can even harvest these trees for the future and gain a serious income from it. So the active reforestation plan involves planting 150 hectares per year. And then we have a private forestry program where we get persons who are involved, who have land, who would like to be involved in planting timber trees. In this program, they can get free timber trees. And we start them off at about 50 seedlings of a wide variety of seedlings, like, for example, Jamaican mahogany, blue maho, cedar, silky oak, Honduran mahogany, to name a few. And these are all valuable wood. So these persons can just easily sign up for the program and get these free trees, and then we'll monitor the area and give technical advice as to how to maintain it for the benefit, not only for their benefit, but also for the benefit of the country, because Jamaica is mainly privately owned. So if we get more persons involved in this program, then more trees will be planted, and then it will help to mitigate the effects of climate change as well as increase forest cover in Jamaica. Trees contribute to that's mitigating the effects of climate change. Trees and wood, they produce, trap, and store carbon as carbon. This function plays a major role in mitigating climate change. When burnt, trees can become a major source of greenhouse gas, that's carbon dioxide, and an approximately 2.6 billion tons of carbon dioxide, that is 1/3 of carbon dioxide released from burning fossil fuels, are absorbed by forests every single year. So everyone, I can't stress enough why we need to plant trees, right? Not only for climate change mitigating, but for even our benefit for food, for shelter, for shade, and also most importantly for rainfall. So it's just a whole cycle. So more rain means that the seedlings or the trees that we plant will survive. Jamaica has just completed training in carbon stock assessment. We updated our forest inventory assessment manual to include carbon stock monitoring. And we completed recently, well, I've done several carbon stock assessments from its inception in 2018, about 4 reserves right now, but the most popular one that, with the forest trek and even have nature walking, that's Bogue 2 Forest Reserve in St. Anne. We've also launched a project, to build the agency's capacity to become REDD+. Ready. Now, REDD+ is reducing emissions from deforestation and forest degradation. Right. Hello? Hello?
Yes, Andrew.
Yes.
We are able to hear you, but in accordance with the timelines, I know there's a lot of information.
Yeah, there's a lot. I'm finishing up.
So there was more than one request in the chat earlier when you started. If the presentation that you're presenting from could be shared. And I'm pretty sure that a lot more information will surface once it is that we get to the question and answer section. But at this point, I would just like to invite the other presenters so that we're able to adhere with the time. So I'm asking if you could send the presentation so that I'm able to share with everyone. Andrew?
I'll definitely do that. And I'll just like to conclude by saying planting successfully for the future requires careful planning and execution. Preparation is key also to maintenance. And we basically invite everyone to partner with us to plant trees to improve our environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrew. All right. Now we invite Miss Amika Cognight. Amika.
Hi. Can you hear me?
We're able to hear you.
Okay, great. All right, so hi everybody. My name is Amika Cognight. I am the tree planting ambassador for Dominica, and I work in the capacity as a research, marketing, and education officer here at the Forestry, Wildlife and Parks Division in the Commonwealth of Dominica. For those of you who don't know, it's not the Dominican Republic. We are the small island located between Guadeloupe and Martinique, the land of 365 rivers and the home of the largest boiling lake in the world. All right, so just so that you know who we are and where we are located in the Caribbean region. With that said, I'm very happy to be here, and this session is so important, not just because I'm part of the Caribbean, but mainly because of where Dominica is located. We're right in the center of the Caribbean, and almost every natural disaster that passes around, every hurricane season, we get hit with every storm, every hurricane that passes, and it's because we're right in the center of the Caribbean chain. And so whatever comes from that side, from the east, we do get. And it makes it more important why tree planting and all of that is important to us, because on an annual basis, we lose a lot of trees and a lot of important species to the country just because of where we're located, and that we get a very strong hit during the hurricane season. As tree planting ambassador, I'm very proud to see that Dominica has a goal of planting 1 million trees, and we're hoping to have that done by 2025. So that is a mandate of our government and our ministry. So far, the campaign was launched under the Ministry of Environment and is spearheaded by the Forestry, Wildlife and Parks Division, which is where I work, and my colleague who will speak after where we work. To date, we have built 8 nurseries in the communities of Concord, Grand Bay, Soufriere, Bells, Melville Hall, Dalis, and Capuchin. These are located north, south, east, and west of the island, 8 different nurseries. And so far they have completed and produced almost 200,000 plants. Yeah. Currently there are about 80,000 plants being treated for pest management and disease. Hence our distribution has stopped for a while in terms of getting those plants back out into the forest or back into the different communities so that they can plant. However, we are hoping that by next week, mid-July to the end of July month, then that we can start back replanting vigorously as we have before. So far, 100,000 trees have been planted mainly in our protected areas. So Dominica has 2 main forest reserves which are protected by UNESCO. And we have a lot of World Heritage sites that we have 1 World Heritage site, and we also have other sites that are taken care of by the Forestry Division. And so those sites took priority, especially after the major Hurricane Maria that passed in 2017. So we've been vigorously trying to replant and get those areas reforested, as most of our watersheds are also in those areas, and most of our animal species, you know, especially our wildlife. And it's also home to our national bird, which is our 2 endemic birds. And they are national. One is our national bird, and we have 2 endemic species. One is the Cicero parrot, known as the Amazona imperialis, and we have the Jaco parrot, and they both depend on our forest and our watersheds in order for them to survive. And so we have been feverishly trying to replant in those areas. We've also taken consideration to our riparian forest. As I said before, Dominica is a land of 365 rivers. Almost every community here in Dominica has a river or 2, or a small stream, etc. And so because of that, we've been trying to replant along those riverbanks in order that we can do some land stabilization and to help with the water quality and water table levels in those areas. Some of the challenges that we've encountered while doing this would be the availability of planting material and sourcing of healthy seeds and wildlings. So yes, we're planting, but we want, when we're planting, that we're planting healthy seedlings. You know, we want those that when we plant it, they will last for the next 25 years or more. And also to protect the national security of, you know, food security. So we want to make sure when we plant those trees that they can, for the next 25 years or more, our island can have fruits, and not just food supply, but not just for us, the humans, but for the animal species and wildlife that we have on the island, who depend greatly on those tree types. The interest and involvement from the general public has exceeded our expectations. And so both the public and private sector, NGOs, CBOs, youth groups, farmers, private landowners, and basically youth, everybody on the island has showed great enthusiasm in joining the 1 million tree planting campaign, to the point where it is now a national mandate that every year we have a national tree planting day here in Dominica, which happens during our Creole season. And so the whole country gets the opportunity to plant, besides the times we do it during the year at the different schools or in the different communities that may need it. There is one day of the year that almost the whole island goes out to plant, and at least, even if it's in their backyard gardens, but most of them happen in the communities, either for beautification, land stabilization, or just for reforestation purposes. Because as I said, every year we get affected by the tropical storms and hurricanes that come. So we are constantly losing some part of our forests. And so there's a need to keep replanting almost every day. All right, and I see I got my time here. So just to end, in order to minimize the negative impacts, we're trying hard to ensure that our nurseries are up to date all the time, that they are pest control managed. That way we can do distributions further. And we're just urging everybody, not just in Dominica, but in the Caribbean, every opportunity you get to plant a tree, because it is important to our cultural stability, and we depend on it, not just for food, but for lumber, for houses, just for our entire sustainability. So thank you once again, and do have a great day.
Thank you very much, Amita. And now we move on to a brief presentation from Mr. Ricardo Dominic, who is also from the Forestry Department of Dominica.
Good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me clearly?
Hear you.
Okay, because I battle in some very strong rooms. I'm actually in the field right now today. I kind of misunderstood my assignment, but I'll do my best to deliver where I can. So my name is Ricardo Dominic. I work within the Forestry, Wildlife and Parks Division as a forest ranger. I am responsible for the Central Range and the entire Central Forest Reserve. So I'm sure everyone here has known about the effect or the passage of Hurricane Maria back in 2017. Since the passage of that hurricane, it has really opened our eyes here in Dominica and within the forestry department and every individual how important it is to have trees. We boasted a forest cover percentage of upwards of 60%. That is very good compared to the size of the country and its population. But since the passage of that storm, we have lost a great deal of that percentage. And we are working vigorously right now to fill in all the gaps and patches to see if we can get back to that number. In reality, it may be very difficult to reach that number, but with the teammates that I have, the people of the island, the other people, the international stakeholders, we're getting very, very positive results. In terms of supplying plants, like my colleague said earlier, we developed 8 nurseries across the island to feed the different sections of the island. Also, with trees, especially here, we have trees that will grow in specific areas. So that's why we have these nurseries placed in specific areas to accommodate such trees. Also, we have a very difficult topography here and very hard terrain. So most of the tree planting we rely on would have to be based on natural regeneration because of the lack of access into certain areas on the island. I know I've been in the forest for 10 years and there are areas in Dominica you cannot reach. Regardless, you will get there, but I doubt that you will come back. But when we think of those areas we try to leave the regeneration to the natural aspect of it. Also, in terms of the trees that we try and plant a large variety of trees because we do not want to stick to just fruit trees or just timber species. Matter of fact, after Hurricane Maria, we saw a move in one of the endemic birds, seeing that it had so much damage in the interior forest. The birds left the forest and came closer to the human population. And that is a trend that we saw happening 2-3 years after the storm. So that goes to show how important it is to replant our forests. I don't want to take much time, too, because my service is very bad. And 3, it's very windy where I am. I'm just happy that we have all different stakeholders from different countries in the Caribbean. At least we know the importance of tree planting is not just ours here in Dominica, but a regional thing. I'm actually happy that we have this meeting today. I'm ready to sit and learn to hear from different techniques from the different countries so that I can use and employ in my section here in Dominica. Once again, I'd like to say thanks to everyone. Ricardo Dominic, signing out.
Thank you, Ricardo. that was a very brief presentation. All right, so Now we are just going to jump right into our Q&A session. Viewers, if you have questions, you may now type them in the chat. I am going to allow time for a couple questions, but they will be taken from the chat. So if you have any specific questions that you would like to throw out to any of the speakers, we had Mr. Andrew Hines, who's from the Forestry Department of Jamaica, and we had Ms. Amika Cognet and also Ricardo Dominic, who are both from the Forestry Department of Dominica. So if you have any questions, feel free to just drop them in the chat right now, and I will pass them on to the speakers so that you can get your answers. In the meantime, while we await the questions coming from the viewers, I'm just putting this question out there. This can go to Andrew or Amika or Ricardo. What would your advice be to someone who is looking to make tree planting sustainable? As in, what do you think it takes to make tree planting sustainable? I know we had discussions and you spoke a lot about the need for trees. You also, and this is in the situation of Andrew, you spoke a lot about types of trees that might be more suitable for planting at this time. But how would you advise someone looking at tree planting in a more sustainable fashion? What would your advice be to them?
Hi, morning again. All right, so it depends on the activity that they want to do on the scope. In a private planting program, people get free trees in that program, but what we do is encourage them to plant at the right spacing depending on the topography. So if it's a steep slope, it could be 13 by 13 feet, and just implement different techniques, like probably terracing or creating like individual basins. That is like a plant along the slope, but you have a little ditch where the water would run off the slope, but will water the seedling in the hole. So it's different practices depending on what you expect, but due to climate change, which has caused drought in Jamaica for a number of years, fires and everything occur. To prevent like fires affecting your property, you can create a fire line that is clearing out a section around it to the bare minimal soil. You can even help the plants that you have planted by mulching. That is, when you bush and clear the area, you could put some of the trash, the leaves at the base of the plants, which will help to trap moisture and reduce nutrient loss, or even add nutrients based on the microorganisms and the organisms in the soil that will carry some of these materials in there and help it to decompose. You can use organic fertilizers, because we don't encourage the use of chemicals because of the deleterious effects to the underwater. And yeah, so use organic fertilizers. You could mix it up with the topsoil if the area doesn't have enough. You could bring topsoil to an area if the area doesn't have enough topsoil, and just mix it with the organic fertilizer to add additional nutrients to the soil. So those are just some ways to ensure that it's sustainable. So just ensure that you maintain the area, bush and clear, whatever technique is most suitable depending on the slope. Because you want to reduce weeds, because weeds can compete with the plants for nutrients, for light and everything. So remove that, and then ensure that, especially during the drought periods, and if you don't have a water source nearby, just practice mulching or adding fertilizer to ensure the survival of the seedlings or the trees planted.
All right, thank you, Andrew. There's one more question. And this question came from Eden, and it's for you, Amika.
Okay.
Seems to be a double-folded question, but I'll go with the second one. He's asking if you have any advice on achieving community and political buy-ins.
If I have any advice on achieving what, sorry?
Community and also political buy-ins.
Bias?
Buy-ins. So that's
Bindings. Okay.
buy-ins, right? Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of achieving togetherness and that, well, we work with closely with the Ministry of Environment, and so before any plan is made, also we ensure that we have their approval in terms of getting material and ensuring that the plan is approved through the Ministry of Environment. With that, we work with the ministry also in terms of getting jobs for persons who are assisting with the project, especially in the nurseries. So we've employed contractors, that's in terms of building the nurseries, and those who do the content maintenance work on the nurseries. We've done the nursery workers, those who are day-to-day workers in the nurseries in terms of doing the plant propagation and carrying of the material to and from the nurseries. We also have staff from each of the communities. So each of the communities that those nurseries are located, we have also engaged members of the community, and each one of them have about 4 staff from the community itself working there. And we're also aware of gender in Dominica. We try to be as equal, gender equality as possible. And so in each of those nurseries at least has about 2 women or 3 women working alongside the men in there doing the equal work, carrying their wheelbarrows, pushing their dirt with their shovels and bagging their soil and etc. So we do ensure that we provide jobs and we work and we engage the communities in there. So I think we have mastered the togetherness, I guess, in terms of binding and that relationship between the communities and the government. So it's not something political. Most persons see it as same way, you come to a job, you apply for a job, you come to a job, and so we're trying to keep it that way. When we do the national tree planting, it's a island-wide thing. And so every community gets involved, NGOs, even all the ministries usually adopt a certain area and they plant. So I believe when it comes to the tree planting, so far, we do not have any political biases in terms of the tree planting. Both opposition and the party in favor, they plant. And also to answer your question of before, where you spoke about keeping it sustainable, what we have done here in Dominica is that before we go to any place where we're planting, we do a site visit, especially when we're going to people's private properties or to the farmers or anywhere we're going to do tree planting. We try to do a site visit, and we give technical assistance in terms of the different types of species that would be best for those specific areas. Because as my colleague said earlier, not all species, because of our topography, not all species grow well in certain areas. And so we try to advise persons as to which species will grow best in those areas. And we try to give them assistance in terms of getting those trees, or if they already have those species in their nurseries or in the villages, then we ensure that they get it from there. We also assist the farmers, and with the farmers, we usually incorporate agroforestry techniques because most of the farmers are doing sustainable crops. And we sometimes give them technical assistance with plants for windbreaks, because most of our farmers, those that are not in the interior, tend to be along the coast, and so they are facing a lot of the sea area, and they get a lot of wind, and so we help them with windbreaks. We also assist them with crop deprivation. As my colleague said earlier, some of the one of our endemic birds has come a little closer to society, to farms, and they tend to destroy, they're eating them for their purpose, but they tend to eat a lot of the farmers' crops, and so we're assisting the farmers in that regard in terms of giving them other species that maybe might be more suitable for the birds themselves, and that they can also get more so that they can produce for the sustainability of the food crop on the island. And we also help them to source more organic material. I heard Mr. Hines speak about the soil, etc. Some areas, if a specific crop is not doing well, we assist them in getting the proper soil material, the compost, etc., or the organic materials that can help them to, from the trees, that can help them to, you know, that can help them to boost their crops, and so that they can use less chemical fertilizers and so we try to help them, give them assistance in terms of organic ways to basically fertilize their trees and their crops. I hope that answers the questions that were posed.
Thank you, Anita. Your response was very comprehensive. Thank you very much. So we have now come to the end of that particular portion of this forum, and so it's time to actually do a closeout. But it's not the end of the forum just yet. So I just want to make special mention of the CariPhilAlliance, the Caribbean Philanthropic Alliance, and its partners all across the Caribbean. Special thanks to them for organizing this forum. And I must say special thanks also to the forestry departments of Jamaica and also of Dominica for participating in the panel discussion. And to the organizers of this forum, special thank you. And last but not least, to our viewers, thank you very much for your presence with us. I hope this session was as fulfilling for you as it was for me. But before we move on, I would love your assistance or your participation in helping us take action. And for that, I will now turn over to Hedris Clark, who is a Nevis youth leader. Hedris.
Good morning, everyone. And it's another beautiful morning to be spending my time in this engagement. My duty is to encourage all of us to plant trees or even become aware of the importance of trees, even if for some reason right now you may not be able to plant, but it doesn't mean that you cannot become educated about the importance of trees. I can remember when I traveled to Taiwan to further my studies, I considered the areas where I would have liked to settle. And I recognized that my preference would have been in the countryside because, for one, it felt more like home, as well as it had more natural scenery to it. And that is what I gravitated to, and this is where I settled to complete my studies. When I returned home, of course, I'm aware of the importance of trees and the need to plant trees, but it's only when I return home I recognize that we take so much for granted. And having been a part of this opportunity has caused me to recognize that we do need to do more in our own space to plant more trees. So I'm using this opportunity to encourage everyone to plant even one tree. If everyone plants one tree, I know that whatever our goals are, our objectives are, they will be achieved. So I started the process personally, and I have planted a few trees that I like, that I preferred, and that reminds me of my childhood. So if it is that one does not want to plant trees just for planting trees' sake, you can actually identify a tree that means a lot to you for whatever the reason and plant that tree. It will help and it adds value to our natural resources. So remember to plant even one tree.
Thank you, Curtis. So now I'm asking everyone. There is a link to a little that has been shared in the chat. If you could just click on that link, read the letter, and then add your signature to the letter, that would help us a ton. So just let me know if there is anyone who is not seeing the link in the chat, but the link has been placed in the chat. Are we all seeing it? Just raise a hand. You're not.
No.
Was that Sonia? You said you're not seeing the link? It has just been resent or reshared in the chat. Are you not able to see it?
Okay, I can see it now. Thanks.
Awesome. Right. All right. So thanks again. Thanks again, everyone, for your presence with us this morning. We're now going to have some music being played while you go ahead and share your signature. And of course, first read the letter and then sign.
Financial meltdown. That's what I'm saying. Money over food, for real. Every day we are stored up vanity, yet there's a crisis on the rise. One way to preserve humanity, it's time we realize intellectualities and technologies will surely go to waste. Got to think about survival. Let's do this in a haste. Plant some trees. Food crisis on the horizon. Plant some seeds. Plant it in and out of season. Plant some trees. It's time to start the mission. Plant some seeds. Whoa, yo, 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 yo. Politicians don't have the answer. We change them every time. Even though we make the change, things remain the same. Will they tell us the truth? IMF is not the solution. Will they tell us the truth? We need this revolution. Will they tell us the truth? We control our destiny. The only solution is production and the science of self-reliance. Plant some trees. Food crisis on the horizon. Plant some seeds. Got to plant them out of season. Plant some trees. It's time to start the mission. Plant some seeds. Plant it in and out of season. Global financial meltdown put the whole world in a spin. These great financial wizards couldn't see this coming. Now we know the truth, got to take it to the root. Now we know the truth, we got to grow the fruit. Now we know the truth, this wealth won't get us back. As the rain fall from the sky, without the food you die. Plant some trees. Food crisis on the horizon. Plant some seeds. Plant them in and out of season. Plant some trees. Food crisis on the horizon. Plant some seeds. Plant them in and out of season. Plant some trees. Food crisis on the horizon. Plant some seeds. Plant it in and out of season. Plant some trees.